And welcome to the Athletic Performance Factory in Highland as we are wrapping up the week that it was, Week 10, the first round of the IHSAA State Tournament here on the Region Sports Network. Leo Staudaher alongside Matt Skura as we take a look at what kind of day it has been here, as it was an interesting week where we saw a lot of high-scoring games. We saw a few lopsided scores. It was a good week for the road teams. And half the slate punched their ticket to the next round. The other half saw their season come to an end. So, Matt, before we break down the scores, what stood out to you from the round of games we saw this evening?
You know, a lot of close games early, and then it came a blowout in the second half. And then there was a few games that we saw that were just lopsided from the kickoff.
And so let's get rolling right into it. In our first game we saw, this was one, as he alluded to, that was pretty well set from Jump Street here. The LaVille Lancers took down the Culver Community Cavaliers 35-0. LaVille improves to 6-4 on the year, while Culver falls to 3-7. This was one where we saw domination from start to finish. As they will then face the winner of this one, another one where we saw one team really dominate from the start. North Judson with a 51-6 win over South Central Satellites. These Satellites will fall to 0-10 on the year, while North Judson improves to 8-2.
Yeah, North Judson pretty much dominated the game from start. They had 40 points at half, so it was pretty much a running clock the whole second half. And I'm sure the second stringers got in there. Right. Some of the JV players got to play some game, get some tournament experience and all that stuff. So, they go on next week to play LaVille. Should be a good matchup.
And we saw that in the next one from that sectional was West Central, the Trojans, taking on the South Newton Rebels. The Trojans would improve to 9-1 on the year with a 74-12 win over the Rebels, who fall to 3-7 to end their season. So again, another one of those more lopsided affairs with the Trojans getting the W in that one. On the other side of the bracket, we saw North Newton, the Spartans, traveling to face the Bowman Academy Eagles. This was one of those where it's much closer. The Eagles get the win 36-30 to improve to 6-4 on the year. These were two teams with identical records, both at 5-4 going into the night. And I think we saw the even match as Bowman picks up their second win in the season against North Newton, but this time at a much closer margin.
Yeah, earlier in the season when they played, Bowman kind of handed it to them. I think there was a little bit of bad blood between the two teams. From what I heard, North Newton wasn't very gracious losing the game, which, ends your season. You losing by a touchdown. Right. You're kind of, I don't want to say bitter, but, you just frustration.
Right.
Frustration, So Bowman advances. They got a tough test against West Central. Should be another barn burner again over there.
Yeah, so that was one of the more closer games we saw in the 1A sectional. As we move to 2A, let's take a look. The Rensselaer Central Bombers taking on the Boone Grove Wolves. Rensselaer would improve to 8-2 with a 57-0 win over Boone Grove. This was another one like we talked about in 1A, not much in doubt through the first half. Rensselaer Central with a 41-0 lead at the half, and then just continued to graciously add to that in the second half with a 57-0 final.
Yeah, Boone Grove was, they're a tale of two teams. They were really good or struggled greatly. And it looked like they struggled in this game. Rensselaer is a tough team. They've been good for quite some time now, and they're finally getting back to that where they were in their peak, 5 or 10 years ago, right, where they made that run at state. So, they should be a contender for the sectional. They got the good draw with the lower half of the bracket. So we'll see how they go.
Home game. As we'll see in the next matchup in the sectional, a game that was featured on the Region Sports Network was the number 8 ranked Wheeler Bearcats taking on the Lake Station Eagles. This is a Wheeler team. They were coming off a tough loss last week against Griffith, shook that off, their first loss of the year, to the tune of a 70-7 win over the Eagles, doing so without their star running back Levi Murray as well. With the next man up, that seemed to be no problem for the Bearcats, as just continuing to add offense throughout that game to that 70-7 win. So a very impressive bounce-back victory for Wheeler.
Yeah, the offense was rolling today, and the defense got back to their stinginess.
And we do have some video highlights from that game. So let's take a look back at some of the top plays from Wheeler's 70-7 win over Lake Station. So we see here Logan Fox going through the air, and he's able to connect with his man downfield, as there was a lot of this going on for the Bearcats. You see the celebration from Vetical, and it's more through the ground game for Wheeler, as that's been one of their strengths all season, but that dual threat dynamic, a long run there. And how about some defensive highlights, too? This might be the lone touchdown score of the night for Lake Station. An impressive run, being able to weave throughout that defense all the way to the house. But the Wheeler defense did not budge after that, allowing just the one score, and then a lot more of this. Bearcats taking it all the way to the house. We see that running back going over 70 yards, and then Fox through the air here towards the corner of the end zone. Good ball there for the Bearcats. Again, they will improve to 8-1 on the year. They will go on to face Rensselaer Central, so they'll have a battle with the Bombers. We'll continue to take a look through the bracket here. We'll move ahead to the 3 and 4A classes when we come back.
We got the Whiting-Bremen
score. Oh, we do have the, we have the Whiting-Bremen score. Bremen got the win 34-0. Wheeler will actually face Andrean. Bremen will face Rensselaer Central. So that will conclude the look at the 1 and 2A brackets. When we come back, we'll take a look at 3 and 4A as the post-game show rolls along here. You're watching the Region Sports Network, the only game in town.
Have you heard? Stratton-Manteau was voted Best of the Region 2025 in several categories, including Best Caterer, Deli, Flower Shop, Food and Grocery Delivery, Fried Chicken, Place to Buy Produce, Place to Buy Seafood, Loyalty Program, and Grocery Store. We're proud to be recognized by our community, and we're committed to continuing to deliver the variety, value, and convenience you deserve. See for yourself what it means to be the best when you shop at Stratton-Manteau.
Hi, I'm Crowd Company's Lantern Man. If you're a contractor, it's my job to make your insurance coverage simple and affordable. Because I know time is money, I'll come to your business. Certificates and bonds are a snap. Wherever you are, whatever business you're in, we've got you covered. As Crowd Company's Lantern Man, I'm your insurance superhero.
Crowd Company's Insurance Professionals, Highland, Merrillville, and Michigan City.
Thinking about what to do after high school? Consider a career with Boilermakers Local 374. As a Boilermaker apprentice, you'll earn while you learn. We offer excellent wages and benefits, and as part of our no-cost hands-on apprenticeship program, you'll learn from the best in state-of-the-art training centers and on the job. Become a union Boilermaker and get on your way to a great career. Find out more, visit www.local374.org or call 219-845-1000.
From lighting up Friday night football to powering the classrooms that shape the students of Lake County, IBEW Local 697 is proud to support our region's schools and the communities we call home. A career as a union electrician could be your next great move. Your next cap might be a hard hat. IBEW Local 697, powering futures, powering the region.
Four Seasons Mechanical proudly serves Northwest Indiana, providing quality, reasonably priced, reliable service. With a quality and comfort guarantee, the professionals at Four Seasons Mechanical offer a wide range of services in heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. Whether it's residential or commercial, Four Seasons Mechanical is there 24/7. To find out more, the website is fourseasonsmechanical.com or give them a call at 219-756-7020. Four Seasons Mechanical, your indoor air quality specialist.
At American Testing Services, based in Hobart, Indiana, we specialize in NDT drone inspections and heat treatment services for local mills, fab shops, and facilities across the country. From Northwest Indiana to nationwide, we deliver precision, safety, and reliability. American Testing Services, America's trusted name in NDT.
Welcome back to the post-game show here on the Region Sports Network as we move to the 3A bracket here, the sectional 25. And this was where we saw some of the more intriguing matchups. This one between Calumet and John Glenn. The Calumet Warriors would get the final win, 42-23, improving to 6-4 on the year. This was one where it felt like Glenn was kind of hanging around there for a while. It was 20-17 at one point, but then the Warriors kind of distanced themselves in the second half, eventually getting that 42-23 win. But it's certainly a little bit closer than the final score would indicate, especially in the third quarter.
Yeah, Calumet got a couple of turnovers. I think John Glenn blocked a punt, scored a touchdown to make it 20-17. Calumet, and then Calumet just a couple of fumbles here or there where they recovered and they turned the tables and, pulled away in the end.
Yeah, that's those type of turnovers can be difficult to overcome, especially in a close game like this one. As you mentioned, that's getting the block punt for a return for a touchdown. That was the one that brought it within 3 points. But then credit to Calumet to be able to respond from something like that, where that could be one of those plays where things could unravel. You give up a special teams touchdown, hit your opponent's within 3 points, but then just to answer back quickly, they answered that and got that score to make it 28-17 and didn't look back from there, going on to close that one out.
Yeah, it's nice to see them put up 42 points since they struggled last week against Westside and the week before against Griffith that I think they only scored 1 or 2 touchdowns, So it's nice to see them back on track offensively, and defensively they did just enough to get the win.
Especially after a couple close losses this season to Wheeler and Highland, to now be on the other end of one of those close games. As we take a look at the opponent they'll be facing, the Mishawaka Marion Knights and the River Forest Ingots were in an interesting one in this contest. If you look at the records, Mishawaka Marion 2-7 on the year, River Forest 4-5, but it was the Knights who would get the win, 56-14. So making a bit of a statement there with a big win over the Ingots to pick up their third win of the year.
Yeah, River Forest was another one of those teams that was up and down all season long. When they were winning, they were looking good, and then they struggle when they're losing. I think a lot of it had to do with penalties and stuff like that. Where when they play clean games, they were going to win a game. If they didn't play a clean game, they had a hard time.
Then another ranked team in our RSN poll, the number 4 ranked Griffith Panthers, fresh after picking up a Greater South Shore Conference title. They, with that win over Wheeler last week, they went on the road to face Bishop Knoll, and no problem on the road for the Panthers with a 62-8 win over the Warriors. This is a Griffith team. When they're firing on all cylinders, it's going to be very difficult to stop.
Yeah, again, another week they put up 50-something points in the first half. I think it was 56-0 at half here. And, then they just cruised to the victory, made sure they were healthy going into the next week.
Yeah, that's important to make sure you avoid any miscues in the second half. You don't want to lose someone then for that next game when the game is already kind of out of reach.
Right.
As we talk about another team that is used to putting up those big numbers, we look at the Knox Redskins against the Jimtown Jimmies. Knox would get the win to stay undefeated on the year, improve to 10-0, 50-21. But this was one where Jimtown really came out of the gate strong. And the final score, again, a little misleading in that one, is Jimtown had them on the ropes at one point. It was 26-21 at the half, but then we saw Knox and Miles McLaughlin just distance themselves in the third quarter.
Right. Neither team could stop each other in the first half.
Yeah.
I think one of Knox's drives, they fumbled and Jimtown recovered it and scored. But other than that, it was pretty much all Miles McLaughlin. I think he had over 480 yards rushing, something like that, and 7 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So it sets up quite a matchup with Griffith and Knox, probably one of the best matchups of the weekend.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting one to follow just because we've seen the balance of Griffith's offense and then McLaughlin, who's just been impossible to stop. It'll be which one can prevail, and the Griffith defense can take the ball away. So that'll be a real fun one to monitor next week for sure. As we move to Class 4A, and this is where we saw a lot of the more fun matchups of the night. How about this one with Kankakee Valley, the Cougars, facing their fellow Cougars, Westside, in a matchup where Kankakee Valley 1-8 on the year, but they were able to grit out a 15-6 win over the Westside Cougars to improve to 2-8 on the year. This was one where it was 12-6 for most of that game. It could have gone either way at that point. But that pivotal drive in the fourth quarter, Kankakee Valley with a physical, run-heavy drive to get themselves in field goal position to tack on that extra 3 points to put that one out of reach. It was an impressive win for Kankakee Valley.
Oh, yeah, it's just what they needed. Now they're, like you said, they're 1-0 now. You know, new season. here. Now they're going to go play Hobart next week. It's going to be a tough test for them, but they're going to be excited. They get to play them at home, so it's going to be a exciting time down there in Wheatfield.
So let's talk about that one there. We have the New Prairie Cougars facing the Hobart Brickies, a matchup for the fourth straight year in a row. These two teams have met in late October, but this time it was the Brickies flipping the script. 50-14 win over the Cougars. It was 28-14 at one point, but then the Brickies really distanced themselves in the second half, shutting out the Cougars in the third and fourth quarter and continuing to add to that spot, getting up to 50 points. A big statement win for Hobart, number 6 in our RSN poll, against a team that they have struggled against in the past.
Yeah, their defense in the second half just dominated the game, and that let the offense keep rolling and be physical and very physical up front. So they just moved the ball at will on New Prairie.
And we do have some highlights from that one, so we'll go to the video board here to see how the Brickies were able to defeat the Cougars. You see a bit of a miscue on the snap, no problem for Alex Tatum as he heaves that one to the end zone, connects with his man for a strike to make it a 6-0 lead. That was on the opening drive. We'll see the Cougars looking to go through the air here, but this was a standout play by the Bricky defense, being able to win that battle in the air for an interception. Flash forward to a little bit later in the first quarter, but it's going to be the Cougars breaking off a huge run all the way down to the end zone. So this is where we saw the back and forth nature in the early stages, but then there was a lot of this. The purple and gold making their way to the end zone. We see Tatum again calling his own number from the backfield and going to the goal line. And the Brickies really wouldn't look back from this point. 21-7, Tatum through the air with a long strike downfield and a nice run after catch by the receiver to find Pater. And then there's Pickett rumbling into the end zone for another Bricky touchdown. That's how they got to 48. They'd convert the 2-point conversion to make it 50. So the Brickies with a big win over New Prairie. We look to the other side of that sectional. How about Hanover Central and Lowell, the Red Devils, being able to eventually get the win 56-21. This was another one where it was relatively close at the half. In the first half, it seemed like the two teams trading punches back and forth, but then the Red Devils really able to step it up in the second half to get the win.
Yeah, it was 35-14 going into half. Hanover Central stopped Lowell on the initial drive in the opening the second half. Then they drove down and scored to make it 35-21, which made it a game. And then after that, Lowell just took over.
Yeah, a big win for the Red Devils to improve to 8-2 on the year. They'll keep on rolling in the postseason. And how about one of the more fun matchups of the night? The Highland Trojans and the East Chicago Central Cardinals. Trojans 2-7 on the year going into this one. Cardinals 3-6, but it's October. You can throw away the records, as this was just a thriller. It was low scoring in the first half, 36-36 to end the game. So we go to overtime, where the Cardinals eventually get the 58-56 win. And one of the wackier overtimes where sometimes it's all about just executing. It's hard to simulate that kind of a situation in practice with the intensity, with your season being on the line, overtime in the playoffs, and it was the Cardinals who were able to get the win.
Yeah, and it was crazy going into overtime. But to get to that point, Highland scored. They were up 29-28. They scored to make it 36-28 with about 45 seconds left. They squib kicked it. East Chicago returned it all the way to Highland's 4 or 5 yard line.
Yeah.
And then they punched it in with almost no time left on the clock to go to overtime.
I want to make a note on the EC Highland game. That was a triple overtime game.
Yeah.
That was getting word from our producer, Justin Cole, that was a triple overtime win. So not just overtime, triple OT.
And it was crazy because Highland scored first in overtime, missed a 2-point conversion.
Yeah.
East Chicago comes back, misses a 2-point conversion. Then East Chicago scores, gets the 2. And I think in the second overtime, they scored.
Was that where we saw the East Chicago player fumbled?
East Chicago
Another player
East Chicago player fumbled. They picked up their fumble and scored. And then they got the 2-point conversion. Then Highland came back, got the 2-point conversion. And then triple overtime. East Chicago scores, gets 2. Then Highland scored. They scored the 2-point conversion, but they had a penalty for an illegal man downfield. And then they failed on the 2-point conversion. So what a way to end your season.
And
it's a tough one, but they can't hang their heads on that one. It's a tough way to go out, but you went out strong.
Certainly, going down to that final buzzer, needing extra time to end that season, and even just some of those plays, that extra effort, those broken plays where there's a fumble, a player realizes I have a chance to still then make something out of this, take it to the end zone. Those are the type of heads-up plays that could extend your season.
The grit and determination from those kids just to not end their season.
Right.
It's amazing.
It's almost a shame that one of those teams would have to end their season on a game like that, because both teams really did fight well, and that was a real pleasant surprise on a night where there were a lot of lopsided games, a lot of running clocks, that we had a game like that go to triple overtime, and it could have gone a couple more overtimes the way this one was going. But eventually the Cougars would get the Cardinals would get the win to improve to 4-6 on the year, so they'll go on to face the Red Devils of Lowell. So we will step aside. On the other side, we'll come back, take a look at the week ahead for next week, and that is coming up next on the Region Sports Network postgame show, the only game in town.
Old Man Winter is just around the corner, and that means temperatures will soon begin to drop. And a region winter is not the time to be left out in the cold. The professionals at Economy Electric Heating and Cooling can tune up that old furnace or install a new unit that can last for years. Your family deserves to stay comfortable this winter, and with 24/7 emergency service, comfort is just a phone call away. Economy Electric Heating and Cooling, 219-923-4441. Or for more info, the website is forajobdoneright.com.
Earn while you learn from the best hands in the business. The Bricklayers Allied Craft Workers for Indiana, Kentucky Apprenticeship. That's right, this is a paid apprenticeship.
I'm getting an education while learning a trade and getting paid for it.
The thing that surprised me the most about this apprenticeship program is the respect I have received after the proper time and training.
Classes start soon, so apply now. There are training centers throughout Indiana and Kentucky. We are the Bricklayers and Allied Craft Workers for Indiana, Kentucky Apprenticeship. The best hands in the business.
Flip the switch, a light turns on. Press the button, machines and instruments come to life. Touch the screen, communicate with the world. Simple tasks, guaranteed results, every second of every day. That's the power of power. And that's the power brought to you by the NECA contractors and electrical workers of Local 531.
Calling all current and future homeowners in the Northwest Indiana area. Whether you're buying or selling, Brent Wright is here to make your real estate journey smooth and successful. With years of experience, personalized service, and a deep knowledge of the market, Brent will help you find the perfect place or get the best deal for your property. Call today at 219-406-7195 and take the first step towards your real estate goals. Contact Brent Wright, the right way to buy and sell real estate.
Back for more here at the Athletic Performance Factory for the Region Sports Network post-game show as we take a look to what we'll have in store for next week, as the 5 and 6A classes will be back after their bye, so it'll be another full week of postseason football in the state of Indiana. As we start with the 1A bracket, so we saw LaVille improves to 6-4 in the year. They will play at North Judson 8-2, as we saw the Blue Jays with a dominant win. Both teams with strong wins in that contest. And then Bowman, 6-4 on the year. They'll go at West Central. West Central, again, put up 74 points in their win. So two teams coming off high-scoring victories will take on each other. So that'll be another interesting matchup in the sectional championships in 1A.
Yeah, in 2A now, we got the Andrean 59ers coming off a bye. They're 8-1. They will travel to Wheeler to take on the Bearcats that are also 8-1, who had a dominating performance against Lake Station. And then in the second half, bottom of the bracket, it's Rensselaer Central at 8-2. They travel to Bremen to take on the Bremen Lions, who are currently 6-4.
So then looking at 3A, that's where things will continue to get interesting. Calumet, a team that's battled a lot this season. They are 6-4 on the year. They will play at Mishawaka Marion. Mishawaka Marion with the win over River Forest this evening. And then Griffith, another team that has been really highly ranked in our RSN poll, number 4 currently. They will take their 9-1 record on the road at Knox. That's a matchup we've been looking ahead to a lot this evening, that battle between Bouillon and the Griffith Panther passing attack, and then McLaughlin and the Knox rushing attack. That should be a fun one to monitor as well in 3A.
Yeah, in 4A, we got the Red Devils traveling to East Chicago. The Red Devils are 8-2 as they took care of Hanover Central this week, and they go to East Chicago to take on the East Chicago Central Cardinals, who are 4-6 as they defeated Highland in triple overtime tonight. And then the bottom half of the bracket, the Hobart Brickies, 8-2, take on the Kankakee Valley Cougars at 2-8. So Hobart travels to KV, and two good matchups. You know, there'll probably be lopsided ones, but you're looking ahead again to another Lowell Hobart matchup in the sectional championship. So, and that looks to be possibly at Lowell, I believe, if they both win.
That should be an interesting one as well. And now looking at 5A, these schools have had that week off to recover, prepare for their opponent as they get ready to start their road to state. We'll see the 3-6 Munster Mustangs taking on Hammond Central, 0-9 on the year, looking for their first W in the postseason. And then on the other side of that sectional, we'll see Merrillville 7-2 on the year for the Pirates. They've been one of the top teams as well in our Region Sports Network poll. They'll go on the road to Morden, where 6-3 on the year. So the Pirates look to make some noise with their high-flying offense and their defense that forces a ton of turnovers, trying to hopefully continue their season by a few more weeks.
Yeah, and then we go to 6A, and in 6A, Lake Central, 3-6, travels to Crown Point to take on the Bulldogs, who are 9-0, which Crown Point defeated Lake Central earlier in the year. And then the Penn Kingsmen, who are 9-0, will also they'll travel to Portage, who is 0-9, and then you're looking at a possible matchup of a Crown Point Penn.
Yeah, another year of that matchup.
Another year of that matchup, yeah, again. And I believe I made a mistake in the 4A. It appears both Hobart and Lowell played at home, and they're both playing away this week. KV threw a monkey wrench into it for Lowell, so that matchup looks like it will probably be at Hobart for the sectional title.
Big battle at the Brickyard.
Yeah. So, Hobart will get the luxury of playing at home again.
Yeah.
But you know what? You can go on John Harrell's website. They got all that stuff, and they can tell you exactly for sure what's going to happen with their how they figure out all that stuff out. But, we're just trying to look at things, and IHSA's got some weird formulas with how they determine who's home and who's away and all that stuff. So, I've been known to be wrong a few times. But, the 6A matchups look really good. The sectional championship matchups are, favorites are getting there. Hopefully the favorites win, but we always like to see the underdog take one here and there. So
yeah, that's the fun part about the postseason is you never really know. It could just be your week that week, and you try to pull off the upset. Is going to miss, I believe, in the 5A bracket. I also missed that Valparaiso at Michigan City matchup. That'll be a good one. And then Chesterton and LaPorte, that section will be very interesting to see how that all shakes out. A lot of Duneland teams starting their postseason next week.
Yeah, and that's right now you're looking at it, you almost got to think Michigan City's a front runner in that sectional. Michigan City beat Valpo. Michigan City beat Chesterton. Chesterton beats Valpo. Chesterton's beaten LaPorte. Michigan City beat LaPorte, but LaPorte played Michigan City tough.
Right.
So it's a toss-up.
I think that group of teams could shake out a number of ways as they've all kind of, been able to play each other close all season. So that should be a fun one.
Yeah,
to follow
Valpo with their postseason success. You throw that record out the window.
Yeah.
They're prepared for the playoffs. So that sectional right there is probably the best one we got, where all four teams have an opportunity to win a sectional championship.
So as we wrap up Week 10, take a look ahead to Week 11. What are some of your final thoughts from the night that tonight has been?
Well, they were fun games to watch. They got out of hand a little bit, but we always like seeing the big plays, long runs for touchdowns, interceptions, big hits, fumble recoveries, block punts, everything, everything. We had a little bit of everything tonight. Field goals.
Yeah.
That's always fun to see the high school kids kicking field goals, 30, 40-yard field goals, things like that. But, the big takes from tonight are, just mistakes.
Yeah.
Mistakes are what cost teams.
And that's what we'll be looking to clean up next week as the postseason rolls on. Teams are looking to make their march to Indianapolis this season. A big thank you to everyone involved with this evening's broadcast, to my partner, Matt Skura, doing a great job with all the analysis, to our outstanding producers, Aaron Svetlin, rounding up all the scores, providing us with some great updates, to Justin Cole for running the entire show and keeping us on air all evening long, to Mike Dewan for cutting up the highlights, and to our management team at Region Sports, led by Chris Ramirez. Big thank you to everyone who followed along. This is Leo Staudaher thanking you for watching the RSN post-game show, Region Sports Network, the only game in town.
For 26 years, Armor Construction has been beautifying homes across Northwest Indiana. From expert roofing and durable siding to eye-catching custom copper work, Armor Construction does it all with the highest quality and integrity. Serving Lake, Porter, and LaPorte counties, trust the best exterior construction company in Northwest Indiana to protect your investment. At American Testing Services, based in Hobart, Indiana, we specialize in NDT drone inspections and heat treatment services for local mills, fab shops, and facilities across the country. From Northwest Indiana to nationwide, we deliver precision, safety, and reliability. American Testing Services, America's trusted name in NDT.
Life isn't always loud. Sometimes it's the quiet moments that matter the most. Of effort, of a dream taking root. And behind those moments, there's trust. Thank you for trusting Sentier Bank with those moments and making us a part of your story. Thank you for the opportunity to earn your trust.
At Blyce, we're used to having the athlete shop at our store.
Down, sit, put.
But sometimes they get carried away. Blyce, this is where the athlete shops.
Hi, my name is Mark Machnick. I'm the owner of Mark Machnick CPA firm in Highland, Indiana on Kennedy Avenue. I've been working with Region Sports for years now. Started working with Chris years ago, just on some special projects, advertising here and there. After a while, kind of increased the advertising. Mainly was doing it for the community involvement. It's such a great network and program they do with the high school sports. But as time went by, I started getting on there more frequently. And then the phone starts ringing. And I was getting calls all the time from people. Hey, I saw your ad on so-and-so football game. I saw your ad on a basketball game. And it's really helped my business. It's increased the volume. We're a tight community in Northwest Indiana, sports-wise, and just a lot of community involvement. So that's mainly why I got into it. I remember watching one game. It was a basketball game, and I think there was a little bit of an altercation. And as the altercation was happening, my ad was right on the bottom, and someone typed in, "I wonder what Mark Machnick's thinking right now." And I was thinking, "Wow, this is awesome." It's really been a great feature for my business. It's the only advertising I do. I don't advertise anywhere else other than Region Sports. It's for the business, but mainly for the involvement with the community. I played high school baseball here in Highland, and ever since I've been advertising on Region Sports, a lot of my old coaches are now my clients. A lot of my old teammates come in here. My recommendation, if you're a business here in Northwest Indiana, I think Region Sports is, for your money, it's one of the best places that you can advertise. I mean, I can advertise on billboards. I could do anywhere I want to. And I choose Region Sports mainly because I get a lot of feedback, especially on the high school level. A lot of the parents, if they can't make a game, they're watching it online. They're watching a replay, the grandparents. So it's done wonders for my business. And it's my go-to for advertising. It's the only spot I would advertise. So if you're a business owner in the area, really look into advertising on Region Sports. It's going to be well worth your money, and you'll make tenfold on what you're spending. Region Sports Network, they're the only game in town, but they're more than just a game.